Oh yes, I'm back. I know it was a bit of a while since the last video. I just wasn't in the mood. I just There's nothing wrong or anything. It was just that I'm out of work again because of the new restrictions. So I'm kind of a bit fed up about that. But I wasn't like sitting at home feeling sorry for myself or anything. I was doing hobby and creative things, and I'm working on a film about Odin, and that'll be coming out soon. So I wasn't down and out about it, but it was a bit fed up when they see what happened was they wanted to go to level 5 restrictions, the the ministers for irrational behavior, and what happened was the government compromised at level 3, which is kind of knocked us back a few months. So so the bullshit is back, not to an extreme degree, but it's back, and so I'm out of work again, and this kind of thing. But I don't think it's going to last much longer. Also, I was kind of getting a bit really, and I was getting a bit kind of like militant about it, and that's not who I am. I'm not a political person or anything like that. But it was starting to like really piss me off big time. But it's good to be back, and I hope you're all keeping well. I know a lot of you sort of like don't I'd say depend on these videos, but you find my videos a bit of a morale booster, and God bless you for that. I thank you for that very much. So since the last thing, I got a ban off Facebook. Now, what did I get the ban off Facebook for? Waiting to hear this one. I shared a tweet by President Trump that I found funny. It was a funny tweet, and I found it funny, and I shared it, and that got me a 30-day ban. So just think about that. Like, I shared a tweet from the elected president of the United States of America, and that was deemed a harmful act. It was probably some purple-haired freak at Facebook community standards who was like doesn't was like a different 20 different genders, and they just saw that and just hit me. And this is what we're up against. But just they're not even hiding their bias anymore. Which, I mean, like, they don't have to. They're a private company and so on. But it's really quite staggering that you get done for a 30-day ban for that. But never mind. There's Parler and there's Instagram, and that can still be witty in other places, including YouTube. So that was kind of weird. Okay, so yesterday was an interesting day in Rona land in Dublin, and there was the anti-lockdown mask under the hashtag of Let Ireland Live, which had some speeches by some people, including Justin Barrett from the National Party, and you can see that speech on Dave Cullen's Computing Forever channel. That's where I watched it this morning, and it's I mean, I don't do politics. I'm not a political person. I'm not left, right, or anything. I'm an anarchist, and my belief is that politics should be purely about administration. That's it, just administration, without any kind of philosophical overtone, whether it be left or right or anything. It's just purely a managing of a society, and and yes, Ireland is a Soviet. There's no doubt about that. Ireland is a Soviet the same way Norway is a Soviet, and the same kind of Soviet is we are. We're a classic Soviet in that, just like the people live in the Soviet, but the ones running it don't. They live in their tax-free havens in Malta and so on, and so. Uh, at the moment, being neither left nor right, at the moment Ireland's gone too far to the left, way too far to the left, and it needs to be brought back to the centre. So therefore, it's necessary and organic that a new right wing kind of conservative party movement comes up, because all the Irish mainstream parties are either centre left to extreme left at the moment, and so it's just moving it back to the middle. So that's all. That's a healthy thing in my book. You shouldn't have any one or the other. I'm not a dogmatist or a polemic in that sense. And so I watched the speech, and he's a very good. The man knows how to make a good speech. I'll tell you that. And he's actually very funny at times. which is something I was quite, he has that same kind of, that sort of like that sense of humor that Trump has. And I was quite taken back by it. Now, again, the National Party, political party, good luck to them. Good luck to anyone, no matter what the political spin is or thing and want to do. You're not, a newer thing, but it wouldn't be something I'm particularly drawn to. It's just my nature. I'm not like that. I'm not, a political person. I'm more of a sort of kind of philosophical individual. And the day could come when the right, just like it was in the 80s, could become nuts, and we'd have to move things back to the left. It's just that I'm an equilibriumist. There's such a thing, that things should come back to the equilibrium of the middle. But yeah, speech was very good. Can't complain. Couldn't find fault really any of it. And he's a necessary voice. And good luck to him and those people. And if the left have a problem with that, well, they can run their own candidates, and good luck to them, and see what they say. This is the thing, is that like I'm a firm believer that whenever orthodoxy becomes entrenched, as it currently is now with the Irish Soviet, uh, you have to move it back. You have to swing the pendulum back, whatever it takes. And that's always been my philosophy. You support the one who brings it back to the centre. And the middle road is always the positive path, I think. Well, the most degree, I'm not, there's no thing is a utopia, but it's the one that's sort of like, things get done, and it's just it's like religion, I'm a pagan, but I'm not the one, not kind of pagan who stands outside churches, you know, trying to subvert them or anything like that, or slagging off people coming out of mosques and churches and synagogues and calling them names. I would never do anything like that. That would be completely indecent to me, even though Christians do that to us. But I wouldn't do it. And it's like, I mean, middle ground. It's like, you see Dave Cullen and John Waters, both great guys, and they're both Christians. I can find both of them, and I'm not out to convert them. They're out to convert me, and that's a healthy way. We meet at a middle ground of of decency and just like respect, and that's a healthy way to be, I think. And that's the way. That's I think that's the future and the way forward for lots of things. But this COVID thing again, it's like I mean, this guy Houlihan, this guy Tony Houlihan, the ones who's the COVID sort of czar in Ireland. This guy, I can't even look at his photograph. He gives me for starters, he was responsible for the deaths of many Irish women with a cervical cancer screening thing. He should have been thrown out of the system and banished to the margins. But they used the COVID thing, the pandemic, the scamdemic, to try and rehabilitate him in the eyes of the Irish public, right as far as the whole thing of giving him the Freeman of Dublin. He didn't cure. We still have the pandemic worse than ever. What are you talking about? And this was all part of the rehabilitation program of him. And you can see that, like, the day he came back, he left to take care of his wife who was sick with cancer. Okay, fair enough. And he comes back, and he reminds me of these managers who used to work in Wall Street, who used to go on vacation and come back after a week or 2 weeks, and then on the first day back cause absolute mayhem and say you're all useless. You caused what you do? You ruined it. And what they do is they put incompetent like monkeys in charge while they were away. So when they came back, they could blame it on them. And that's what he did that exactly with the NEPID, or it's called, the Corona Task Force here in Ireland. He put in like a Doogie Howser MD, Harry Potter type, little boy who wasn't up for the job and out of his depth. So when he'd come back, he'd look like the all-conquering hero. He literally walked in the front door again from his leave and demanded a level 5 lockdown. Just because he could. That was just the whole thing of throwing his weight around. I'm the boss. I'm the big. Yeah, fucked it up while I was away. This kind of fucking thing. That's a classic thing those pathological types do. And I think he's rolling the dice far too much on this one. Even people that used to support him are like, this guy gives me the creeps. And yeah, so I mean that was kind of funny. He didn't get his level. Well, it actually sent the country into shock. And it was a good thing, actually, because what he did was, by rolling the dice one too many, it was on a Sunday night, actually, right before a Monday, that there was, millions of people in Ireland were wondering if they're going to have a job on Monday morning. And it came close to actually breaking the people. There was absolutely they had a vote on the Monday morning in the last Monday morning on the what if they would have that level 5 breakdown. And I said on Facebook there'll be a revolution if that happens. They cannot pull this out at the midnight hour like this. And the politicians got the fright of their life to the point now where Leo Varadkar. I like Varadkar because it sounds more like a Doctor Who baddie. But Varadkar, uh, he uh, he he's saying it would break his heart to put the country under lockdown again. They're losing. And now the World Health Organization is now saying that lockdowns aren't the way to deal with it. Well, you were saying a few weeks ago. You were saying it was. See, this is the whole thing. It's all being made up as it goes along. It's all being made up as it goes along, and it's all makey uppy. But they're losing control of it now. They're definitely the narrative is definitely spinning out of control, and not for any political reason. It's just that bullshit. When you throw bullshit, some sticks and some doesn't, and the stuff that's starting to fall and slide down the wall, and people are starting to notice it, and that's what's going on here. And I made a video, wow, way back late last year, called about the tyranny of this, the dark sorcery of public safety, and it was on the Open course. I'll put it on the below, and I was talking about how the idea of public safety and the public safety committees of the French Revolution were used to unleash tyranny on the population under the guise of public safety. Now, this is Robespierre and the rest of them. Now, this was a very big Masonic thing. This is the whole thing that the Masons do, and when they're in political power, they 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 create tyranny as a means to develop public safety and to ensure public safety. And so, and that's what we had with the lockdown and the Rona thing. This is what we've had, and you see, what I see I see the pro lockdown, pro pandemic crowd, you know, sinking deeper and deeper into schmaltz now. Like they had two stories in the Irish Times. One of a guy with an RTE site. One guy with a guy showing his father's medals from the Congo. It was ridiculous. And then another one, a kid who with a guitar who looked like he was. I mean, I'm not going to judge the kid. He's only a kid, but it said he had symptoms of COVID. They're desperately trying to find healthy young people to blame this on. And anytime they pick up somebody who's young and healthy and say this person died of COVID, if you investigate further, you find out that the COVID was part of an underlying condition or something that was a toxology thing that happened regarding medications, and COVID was present when it happened. And they're desperate to find young healthy people who've been sick or died of COVID. And I've got to the point now where I don't think any young people have actually died of COVID who are healthy. Not one. Not one. The more you dig, you see that these are people that had often serious underlying conditions or something went wrong with treatments and things like that. So it's and then it comes out now, right? Now here's another one for you, right? The whole left-right thing, right? This is why it's bollocks, right? Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, his father wrote numerous books on population reduction. He's a classic Bill Gates type eugenicist. He's from that aristocratic, culled the population world. Now, Boris Johnson, who is of Ottoman extraction, bet you didn't know that. He's Turkish. He's Turkish. And well-to-do money. And his father, a typical David Attenborough, Bill Gates, you know, what was his name, that guy? Malthusian population reductionist. And the usual thing, the aristocrats. See, what happens is, why the aristocrats are obsessed with population reduction is the more of us that there are, the less value their wealth has. Because there's a finite amount of wealth on this planet. The bigger the population, the more that wealth is diluted down. Where if you have less people on the planet, the finite amount of wealth is owned in a greater proportion by the elites, just by sheer numbers of people. And this is why the aristocrats have always been obsessed with population reduction. because we're, the more of us there are, we're eating into their profits. It's just basically their financial. This is also why all the hardcore socialists all come from aristocratic families. They're all, that's it's all about protecting old money, and that's why they're obsessed with population reduction. They don't give a fuck about anything else. It's not to do with worrying about Africans or people starving. And in tandem with that, they're obsessed with viruses. So it's almost like the Andromeda strain or something. This is like a psychosis built into them. That it's like, well, that's why when you see Bill Gates's face light up in a state of spiritual fulfillment, with a smile on his face that nothing else can that can glow him, like in perfect epiphany of fucking spiritual solace, as when he's mentioning people being killed in their billions by a virus. You see his face light up, and they'll be killed in a virus by their billions, and all you need to hear is angels go, "Oh," and they'll be killed by billions, and if they don't, if we you won't have a choice. And when the vaccine comes along, you're all going to be killed. Children, billions will die. And oh, hark the herald angels sing sonnets of genocide for Bill Gates. That's what they're fucking like. That's what the fuckers are like. And yeah, and. And you see this is they love it. The thought, and I mean, didn't Boris Johnson make a statement about the Scottish being basically scum or something like that? That's an insight into how these people really the kind of conversations that go on in their country manor homes. Now, Scotland is a particularly frightening example. What's going on in Scotland right now is quite frightening. Nicola Sturgeon, who's an extremely sinister individual, who took the Scottish Nationalist Party and turned it into an extremely sinister organisation after they framed and stitched up Alex Salmond with fake sex whatever inappropriate charges bullshit. And she's a scary fucking bitch, that one. And her eyes, she got the same eyes as Hillary Clinton. They're fucking dark and dead. And she's like the SNP. The SNP are like full on fascists. It's unbelievable. Like, they're just running a tyranny. A government by terror. Fucking Scotland is actually being run by a terror regime, and the terror regime uses, if you don't do as the SNP says, Corona will kill you all. And to the point where, unfortunately, a large number of the population of Scotland is actually believing it. Sadly, of course, not all, but sadly, they're terrified, and they think Nicola Sturgeon is going to save them. Now, Scotland is also flirting with the concept of independence, and it's interesting what's going to happen there. In 1922, Ireland got its independence, right? But there was a proviso. They kept the City of London bankers and the international financiers kept the Belfast shipyards because they were highly lucrative. So they created Ulster. Okay. Now the same thing's going to happen in Scotland. People in Scotland think that the SNP are saying, when we break away from London, we'll have no problem with lots of money because of all the oil and the sea here. However, there's already an Ulster beginning now in Scotland. Shetland and Orkney have said that they will break away and stay with Britain, and that's where most of the oil will be is anyway. So it's a City of London bankers and international capitalists are already working on creating an Ulster for Scotland, and that'll be Shetland and Orkney, and they won't get their oil, just like Ireland didn't get the shipyards in Belfast. And it's the same old stunt and scam and stroke they're pulling all over again, exactly 100 years later. And you won't even own your fish. And and she wants to keep them in the EU. You won't even own your own fish. Look at Ireland. We don't own our. We're about the same size as Scotland, about the same population, about the same area. Well, the same marine territories, and we bought oil as well, and we own fuck all. And we don't even own our fish. And the same thing will happen in Scotland. If you're no, don't mind making Scotland independent if you're going right into the EU, and you've lost Shetland and Orkney. You see, they're devious bastards. What we're dealing with, devious, and but they know what they're doing, and but at the same time too, this is what's been going in my head this week. But at the same time, I don't want to think about it too much because it's good to break away from all this stuff because, as we've been saying, this is a spiritual battle. This is very much a spiritual, absolutely 100% a spiritual battle, and a spiritual battle also involves being the hermit, and that's what I did for the last few days. I didn't want to make any videos. I was the hermit, and you have to go into yourself. Now it's and to break away, just walk away from it and get away from it, and that's how I've always dealt with like things that were spiritually affecting me. I walk away from them. I walk away from them. I'm not dealing with this anymore, and it's always the hermit thing has always worked out well for me. And other people have other ways of dealing with it. That's my way of dealing with it. And yeah, it's spiritual. It's a spiritual battle. Now, I'm those of you I'm going to be doing a magic. This is going to piss off the Christians now, but sorry. I'm going to be doing a ritual on October 31st, and it's basically to end the scandemic, and it'll involve an egg and a river that flows into the sea. Everyone can take part in it. The details of how it's going to be done. Did you see what just the lit up just then? Woo, as like Bill Gates talking about genocide. Woo. And the way it's going to be done is described in a video on Open Source Occult TV, which I'll put in the comments below here, that you can actually find out how to do it. People have said to me, "Can I throw it in the sea?" No, you have to put it in a river going to a sea. There has to be the alchemical transformation from fresh water to salt water, and it has to mimic the life cycle of a salmon or an eel that could go from fresh water to salt water. We're tapping into the salmon archetype. We're also going to be tapping into the octopus archetype, which will take the banishment that we plan, the banishment of the ritual and banishment, and take it to the bottom of the ocean, to the abyss, to be lost forever. So this is if those of you who have never taken part, who are Christians or not atheists, and want to know what pagans do in terms of ceremonies, well, this is a chance for you to get involved. All you need is an egg and a river that goes to the sea. That's all you need, okay? And it's even if you don't believe that there's a magical potential to this, it doesn't matter. It'll make you feel good. It'll make you. It's a good creative outlet. And my Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and atheist friends, you're welcome to take part in this as well. The Hindus do this stuff all the time, and that's why the importance of the river flowing to the sea, the Ganges, the Shannon, and so on. And so and it doesn't have to be in the main river. It can be a tributary going into a river that goes to the sea. If you can pick a salmon river, even better, but not necessarily. If you live in British Columbia or Alaska, you're laughing. But also that I'm going to put in a tributary to the Moy River, which is a big salmon river here, and that leads to the ocean. Via megaliths. Be artistic. Go to the Boyne. Be creative. Go to the Liffey. Go to the Mersey, where ships are built and the energy of people building those ships. The Clyde, the Lagan. In New Orleans, the Mount Place of the Mississippi. Be creative. Be creative and all this stuff. Enjoy it, and it's on the official Halloween and not the autumnal equinox. And the reason for that is there's two reasons. One, the charge will be the potential for charge tapping into will be stronger on October 31st when we're doing the ritual, because more people are concentrated on the Halloween thing, although it's not the true Samhain, which is the autumnal equinox on the 6th of October. I also don't want to do anything that will be profane to that. So it's out of respect for that. But also we're riding on the charge on the 31st. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. So I'm going to be talking about that and chaos magic in the life of a sort of chaos pagan on a special I'm doing with, remember I did the tarot special with Magical Egypt? It's this Friday night. The suggested fee is a tenner in anything. Pay more if you want. Don't pay anything if you want. It's up to you. And that's I'll put the link to that again down below. and that's this coming Friday, 8 p.m. on the Magical Legion channel. It'll be done through Zoom, so you'll be on, like, there's only 100 places available, so get into that early, because we packed it for the tarot workshop. We packed out the 100, no problem last time. So we'll be doing that, and I'm also going to be at AV1111. I'll put the link below for that, and I'll be doing my own thing that day. Reasons to be cheerful, part 2020 and beyond. It'll be sort of like the Rona Chronicles Plus, and so get watching that. John Waters will also be on that day, with doing a co-presentation with Gemma O'Doherty. So there'll be a good Irish, well, he always does have a fair few baddies at the AV events. There's always there's if there's not me, there's usually someone else, or there's usually two of us or more. And so there's a good Irish representation at it. So get involved in that. And it's a way of, like, thanking Ian O'Crane for all the great work he's done over the years, and his remarkable battle against cancer and things like that. I mean, so it's like that's it's also, I'm going to see it as a celebration of his survival. Remember, he was dying practically when we did the last AV, and now he's still sick and everything. But my God, what an inspiration for the rest of us. And it's the COVID thing. He's the warrior stayed to fight for the COVID thing. That's how I see it, and the scamdemic. And I've also done I've got a video with Neil MacDonald on his channel that just came out on the megaliths of Northern Ireland when we were there, months and months, way before the lockdown. We were down there, and that's up online. The sound's not the best, but that's okay. The scenery is beautiful, but it's worth it anyway. That's good, and it's not. It's still the problem with the wind, but it's okay. It's watchable, and yeah. So, like, it's I was thinking about the concept of twig. I watched this film last night called Yesterday, which could have been one of the greatest movies ever made. The premise was absolutely fantastic. It was about a fella who goes through has an accident, and finds himself in a parallel society. A parallel society where the Beatles never existed, and we're going to create a parallel society where the scamdemic never existed, by the way. And where the Beatles never existed, and he starts pretending the Beatles songs are his own until he becomes a big star. It was a brilliant idea for a film. Brilliant. Great cast and everything. But then, halfway through it, it transforms into one of those awful British romantic comedies like Four Weddings and a Funeral or Notting Hill, with the same kind of ditzy characters, the sort of lovable, charming ditzy girl, and the same kind of thing they always do in those horrible fucking films. And it becomes a dumb fucking romance thing. And up until that point, it's brilliant. And I was just thinking about, like, here they had something really good, and then they went pedestrian and destroyed it. And it could have been one of the best movies ever made in terms of a comedy, which is the idea was genius, and it fell flat on its face, one of those awful Hugh Grant films. And I was thinking about, like, why did that happen? It happened because maybe at some point producers came in and said, you're not going to sell this mainstream, so you've got to bring in Ed Sheeran, and you've got to bring in, Four Weddings and a Funeral type storyline to appeal to the bigger audience. And while it appealed to the bigger audience, I'm sure it did for that reason, it also destroyed a work of art. And I was thinking about that movie, and I was thinking, there's a great lesson in that if you remain true to what you want to do, you will not be successful, but you'll produce something worth producing. But if you compromise that, what you do is you end up destroying something. And I was thinking, like, U2. I've been watching a lot of early U2 stuff lately, and God, they were fantastic. Up until The Unforgettable Fire, especially. I was watching a video of doing them 11 o'clock TikTok on the Olga Whistle test. They were just amazing. And then They went and became Hollywood. And you know, it wasn't the same anymore. There was something lost. There was something lost. And that's what happened with that film yesterday. And I think that's like a lesson there for all of us, that you see people saying, well, where's the great waking up? Well, we don't need to wake those fuckers up, because they'd be dangerous if we did. And secondly, they're not capable of waking up. Most of them are robots. Most of them are absolute fucking robots. So you'll never wake them up, okay? Mm, 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 mm. There's some people who think that fucking Jedward are intellectual giants. We don't want them people. But what we do want are the ones who take us this far and leave a legacy that's solid. That it's our legacy, that we took it and we completely owned it for ourselves. And that's why I wouldn't get involved in politics or anything like that. I'm happy enough doing these videos here, throwing my own thing into the mix, and getting people just even think about it, even if it's make them feel like they're not alone looking at this madness. Even that's enough, okay? But to put that into a political context, it's not for me. I would feel like, this is where it ends for me. This is the end of it. As far as what I'm doing now is as far as I'll ever take any of this. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. My book Puzzling People spoke about be wary of the new normal back in 2011. And that was, long before that phrase came into popular usage. And I think I'm absolutely the first person that ever used it in that term of a technological, and even mentioned the World Health Organization, which is even weirder, a technological future where we'd be like prisoners. And I termed, don't let your children fall into the new normal, what they will call the new normal. And that was, when Puzzling People came out, I had a chance to do it, to make it big. And I was getting calls from all these mainstream shows, and people were genuinely interested. I didn't want to do it. It wasn't me. It just wasn't me. And I'm glad I didn't. But here we are, all these years later, and that passage in that book shows up as being correct. And I was right. So I did it. I made a mark. I made my mark. And it was a solid mark, and it can't be taken away from me. And that's the end of that. And it was enough. It was enough. Sometimes enough is enough. And I'm happy with this right now, where this is going. Where people choose to go from now on, take the political path, good luck to them, up their business. Or take into other ways, good luck to them, that's their business. Now, in terms of predictions for the future, you're going to see... here's what I think they're going to play this thing out till Christmas. There's too much smolch capital. Schmaltz is a great word. It's a Yiddish word meaning goose fat, chicken fat, and it just means that it's like slippery and slimy, and it appeals to emotions, superficial emotions and stuff like that. Like the end of that movie yesterday, and so where rather than anything real. So there's too much schmaltz for them in that. So you say you have someone like Ryan Tubridy, the Irish TV presenter. He'll want to do his awful, infantile, late kids TV toy show at Christmas, but it'll be a virtual show with no audience properly, and it'll be done in such a way like we will be with the children again. The children will play again. It'll be done. They have to work this fucking shit out. They have to get that schmaltz out of them. And there's too much. Christmas is a good time for and you'll have like Panty Bliss, of the air guitar of drag queens, and she'll be like giving her thing like the alternative queen. This Panty Bliss is an Irish drag queen, has no fucking talent, none. Ireland is amazing that way. We have drag queens who are famous just because they're fellas wearing clothes and makeup. Now, for instance, like I like drag queens. If you like you look at like Danny LaRue, the guy could sing, dance, tell jokes. You look at even before Mr. Pussy here in Ireland. The guy was very, very funny. You had Paul O'Grady, Lily Savage, fantastic. The guy's a brilliant genius, comic genius, and a great social commentator in his own way, being a scouser and all that. And so what does Ireland have? Shirley Temple Bar, a guy who's absolutely no talent, okay? He just wears women's clothes and reads a lot. I don't even need to does that anymore, reads a lot of his numbers out. And Pandy Bliss, no talent. The air guitar. That's what I described it as. The air guitar of drag queens. It's cosplay. They're not like that. It's not like they could sing, dance, or tell jokes. And so she'll be doing her things about, like, or him, or whatever he is, will doing that thing, and it's so stupid, of course, as usual, And even apply a critical, an artistic critique of these people, you're called homophobic, even if it's just not meant in any other way. I mean, I said I like drag queens, I do, but I don't. They're no talent, so that would make me homophobic, even though I just said I like drag queens. Just the kind of world these cultural marketers have created, and. And what else? So yeah, they'll schmaltz it up. They'll have that. They'll have Micheál Martin, the Irish Prime Minister, Taoiseach, and the rest of them all saying, "This will be the last Christmas we'll be apart. Next Christmas our children will play again with and visit, and we'll go and they'll get all this crap, and they'll do it in your country, in my country, every fucking country. The Christmas schmaltz thing is too good for these scumbag politicians to turn down as a PR thing. So that's my prediction. They're going to go through this like a fucking train through a tunnel, with the whole schmaltz thing at Christmas, and then it's going to all peter out in January and." They'll slowly, with nonchalantly and with little ceremony, end all the lockdowns and restrictions. But they want that Christmas. They could see they want that Christmas, after they can ramp up the schmaltz and ramp up the whole thing, and get their last hurrah before it all ends. So this is Christmas 2020 is about politicians giving themselves, and the mass media and the politicians and all the fakes and phonies who fold like cheap cameras when any kind of truth is brought in front of them. All them, this will be schmaltzerama. It will be so unbelievably schmaltzy, and you'll have all the dickheads on singing songs about how our families will have a white Christmas again. No fucking shit, And by then, the population will have seen complete. Even many of the normies will have seen completely through it. They'll have seen completely through it, because the schmaltz and the rubbish of it, and that's because it's not authentic. Because authenticity it stands out a mile. But when someone is inauthentic, it stands out. Even eventually, the biggest dickhead sees it in the end. And the whole COVID thing is built on a lack of authenticity regarding everything about it. And that deck of cards has fallen. And so that's basically it for today. Look out for the 31st of October. I'm going, all you Christians and Jews and Muslims and atheists are going to join me in a pagan ritual, as considered a cross community thing. Okay, just think about that. You watch my videos and now you're doing pagan rituals, but you thought you'd never do that. That's because I'm reaching out to you, and you're reaching out to me, because we have a common denominator, and that is to make life beautiful. That's what it is. Love yous all. Next time.